Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh has been assassinated in Tehran by an Israeli airstrike.
Ukrainian President Zelensky visited a military hospital, greeting veterans and handing out medals to wounded soldiers. Olympic fans are experiencing a heat wave as temperatures in Paris climb to 35 degrees Celsius or even higher.
Iran has warned Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh's assassination will be punished. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said the crime by Israel will face a quote harsh and painful response. Haniyeh was assassinated in Tehran after attending the inauguration of Iran's new president. Israel had vowed to kill him and other leaders of Hamas over the group's October the 7th attack on Israel. An Israeli military spokesman declined to comment on the matter.
هذا الأمر لن يجدي نفعا ولن تكسر إرادة الشعب الفلسطيني لأن هذه الاغتيالات وهذا الدم الفلسطيني الغالي سيبقى وقودا لاستمرار المعركة مع الاحتلال من أجل الحرية والاستقلال. اليوم
The government press office of Israel released a photo of Ismail Haniyeh stating, quote, Hamas's highest leader was killed in a precise strike in Tehran. Hamas's military wing said that Haniyeh's assassination takes the battle to new dimensions and will have major repercussions on the entire region. In the West Bank, the internationally backed Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas also condemned the attack, calling it a, quote, cowardly act and dangerous development.
Lebanese cabinet members have met a day after Israel launched a deadly strike on Beirut, with a spokesperson warning the attack hinders peace in the Middle East. IDF officials say the assault killed a top Hezbollah commander, allegedly responsible for a deadly rocket attack on Israeli-controlled Golan Heights.
القصف على ضاحية بيروت هو قصف لمبادرات الخير ومساعي التهدئة والتفاهمات، ونحن سنبقى نعمل في سبيل إنقاذ بلدنا وحماية مجتمعنا من أي خطر، مؤكدين أن لبنان لا يريد الحرب بل الحفاظ على كرامة أبنائه وسيادته على الأرض والبحر والجو ومن دون أي تهاون بحقوقه.
The strike hit an apartment, killing one and injuring four.
في الساعة 8 إلا 4 ولا 3 اجت ضربة مش طيران، اجت صاروخ مسير ضرب أول ضربة وبعد 10 ثواني اجت الضربة الثانية وعبقت المنطقة مثل ما انتم شايفين المنطقة كلها مهولة سكان هون.
Israelis are concerned mounting retaliatory attacks could precipitate wider conflict.
People basically waiting in all this last year for a much greater war to begin. And maybe this is the cue that it will be open.
Israel and Lebanon have exchanged near-daily strikes for the past 10 months.
The new president of Iran was sworn in at a ceremony in the Iranian parliament in Tehran. Masoud Pezeshkian took the oath after being formally endorsed by the Iranian supreme leader on Sunday. He takes over from his predecessor, whose death in a May helicopter crash sparked the early election. Pezeshkian pledged that his administration will keep trying to remove economic sanctions imposed by the West over Tehran's controversial nuclear program. At least 108 people were killed and dozens more injured after the Indian state of Kerala was devastated by days of heavy rainfall, triggering mass landslides in what government officials called one of its worst natural disasters. Local media reported that most of the victims were tea estate workers. India's weather department has put Kerala on alert as the state has been lashed by incessant rains, with the downpour disrupting life for many.
Local police clamped down on the speculation around the identity of a 17-year-old male arrested following the deadly attack in Southport. Far-right protesters were fueled by anger and online rumors after a stabbing took place at a Taylor Swift-themed event and clashed with police outside of a mosque in the northwestern town. Police say the false online rumors were used by individuals to bring violence and disorder to the streets. They confirmed in a statement that the suspect's name circulating on social media was incorrect and that the male was born in Britain, contrary to claims that he was an asylum seeker. The Liverpool Region Mosque Network denounced that the incident was related to the Muslim community and warns against those using this opportunity to divide and spread hatred. Prime Minister Keir Starmer condemned the acts of violence and said the protesters had hijacked what was meant to be a peaceful vigil. On Monday, the Prime Minister was met with anger when he laid flowers at a memorial for the victims, those around him asking how many more children.
I am very worried about high levels of knife crime, and I'm absolutely determined that my government will get to grips with it. But today is not the time for politics.
The attack is the latest in the country. A recent rise in knife crime has stoked anxieties and led to calls for the government to crack down on the bladed weapons.
Ukrainian President Zelensky visited a military hospital where veterans are being treated and rehabilitated. During his trip to the facility in Ukraine's Rivne region, Zelensky was given a tour of the hospital's operations. This included a physical therapy room, swimming pool, and a robot rehabilitation room where therapists work with patients. Zelensky greeted patients and handed medals to wounded soldiers. Slowly but steadily this summer, Russian troops have been forging through Ukraine's outgunned and undermanned defences in a relentless onslaught. Moscow's forces overran 2 villages on the Ukrainian front line in Donetsk, according to a Ukrainian army sergeant. Ukraine announced plans to involve Russia in the Second Peace Summit, with one of Kyiv's spokespeople saying the main question is whether Moscow will conduct the negotiations in good faith. A German citizen sentenced to death on terrorism charges in Belarus was granted a pardon by the country's authoritarian leader. It wasn't clear whether the decision by Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko means the capital punishment will be replaced with life in prison for German Rico Krieger. Krieger was reportedly accused of photographing some of the country's military facilities and of staging an explosion at a railway station on orders from the Ukrainian Special Services. Sardinia declared a state of emergency due to a persistent drought crippling the island and creating a lack of drinking water. The tourism hub has not seen rain in weeks as temperatures in the region continue to rise, with the island expecting to see heat of 40 degrees Celsius in the coming days. The announcement was made by Sardinia's regional council and the provision will remain in force until December the 31st. The president of the autonomous region said extraordinary procedures such as the declaration of a state of emergency were necessary to contain the effects of the ongoing water crisis. The scarcity of water has been drastically affecting agricultural and industrial activities, the tourism sector, and the daily lives of Sardinian citizens. Italian Senator Marco Meloni has called for long-term strategies to mitigate the effect of climate change and drought on Italian islands. After a rain-soaked opening ceremony last week, Olympic fans are adjusting to a very different experience, a heat wave. Most of France is under a heat wave warning, with temperatures in Paris and its surrounding areas expecting to climb to 35 degrees Celsius or higher, according to the French National Weather Agency. Visitors and residents cooled off by drinking water and staying in the shade. Paris's train and metro operator said over 2.5 million containers of water will be distributed at public transport stations. France's National Weather Agency described heat waves as increasingly intense, frequent, early and long-lasting amid climate change. It said that before 1989, such high temperatures were observed on average once every 5 years, but since 2000, they've been repeating every year. It predicts the trend will keep increasing.
You don't need to be a world-class athlete to feel a part of the Olympics. For some, collecting memorabilia is a gold medal sport in itself. We've come to a fan zone on the outskirts of Paris to speak with some superfans and collectors.
This is the first time ever that collectors have their own dedicated space.
Le départ de la collection olympique, c'est les timbres, mais aujourd'hui les timbres ont beaucoup diminué, c'est surtout les pins, et puis après c'est tout ce qui touche à l'olympisme. Donc ce sont des billets d'entrée aux Jeux olympiques, des cartes postales, des timbres, des magazines, des objets divers, des mascottes.
87-year-old Robert Prat from Monaco has been collecting pins for 40 years.
J'ai commencé à 40 ans à collectionner les pins et les médailles, tout ce qui est métallique sur les Jeux olympiques. Donc j'ai actuellement près 5000 pièces officielles de tous les Jeux, de tous les pays du monde. C'est mon plaisir. Voilà, vendre l'argent, non, ça ne m'intéresse pas du tout.
Catherine Salin brought her collection of pins to Paris for the duration of the Games.
Je pense qu'on peut me qualifier de super fan parce que depuis 92, j'ai fait 14 Jeux olympiques, soit d'été, soit d'hiver. Donc Paris vont être mes 15e Jeux.
There may be an official trading space, but collectors also exchange elsewhere.
When I bring pins that I have not paid a lot of money for, if I can trade them or sell them for more than I paid, it'll help reduce the cost of my trip. See somebody with a bag like this or a lanyard with pins on them, that means that they're willing to trade, so it's okay to go up to them and talk to them, and it's not just the revenue side, but the interaction. It's fun to talk to people.
For collectors, Olympic memorabilia is at the heart of telling the Games story.